up to the same old fight, chasing shadows in the night. Promises made, but I let them fade. Caught in the cycle, I'm feeling betrayed. Round and round, I'm losing ground. Trying to break free, but I can't see. These negative patterns are haunting me. Nights turn to days, I'm losing my way. Thought I found peace, but it's led me astray. Chasing the high, but it only brings pain. The more I run, the less I gain.
Hey everybody, hey, and welcome to another session of Tarika Say It Again. And today we have with us a guest, and her name is Deja Jackson. And she is a therapist, more specifically, trauma therapist. And I say that because you all know that we've had some therapists and counselors in the office, and they dealt with specifics such as suicide, anxiety, and depression. And today she's going to talk to us about trauma. And I think that is so fitting because we just did the review on the movie Straw. And we know in that movie there was a lot to unpack. We saw traumas, we saw struggles, we saw pain, we saw hurt, we saw abandonment, and we could keep going on and on. I think it's fitting today for her, to give us some insight on what trauma looks like. Maybe give us some coping strategies on how to deal with it. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Deja.
Yes, thank you so much, Tarek. I appreciate you having me on here as a guest.
Yes.
I did see the movie Straw. It was definitely riddled with a lot of trauma, and even just how trauma can really impact not just our mental, but our physical, and even warp our
Yes.
reality, right? Because that
Yes.
big scene at the end when we realize, oh, this is like psychosis, grief that we're really hitting on because of the
Mm-hmm.
trauma, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
just to give you guys a background kind of my experience. So before I became a therapist, I actually worked for the Department of Children and Families. So,
Okay.
the part where it's that social worker that comes up with the clipboard, that was me for a while. I did that in Orange and Osceola County. So I've investigated all different maltreatments, whether it's physical abuse, medical neglect, things like that. I also investigated child death as well. So just really trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
out how did we get here, whether it wasn't truly an accident, like maybe a drowning, or something where it was a little bit more intentional, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've been on the front line when it comes to trauma. I've seen it. I've had to investigate it. I see kind of that generational take that it has on the family. I transitioned over to doing forensic interviewing. So instead of me having to go to people's homes, usually kids would come to the office, and I'm the one that's holding those interviews to see what happened. How can I,
Mm-hmm.
use motivational interviewing skills, open-ended questions to narrow down what exactly happened to better help support that child and give that to DCF or to law enforcement so they can, use that as aids in their investigations. I got to see trauma from a very, early on in my career and how that can
Right.
impact people. And for me, I wanted to get more on the treatment side. So that's when I went to school, got my master's in counseling,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we're at today. So trauma is the hot topic these
Yes.
days when it comes
Yes.
to things, as it should. I think people are starting to build a lot of awareness surrounding how trauma really does impact us. Even like from your book, patterns is such a huge thing when it comes to trauma, right?
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
everything is learned.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm wondering, even just from having your book, I'm sure there's been countless people who have come up to you and just shared their story. So, like, what has that been like for you?
Listen, it's been eye-opening to see that there are people out there that need this assistance. And I didn't know until, of course, the book came out. and me hearing you talk about those patterns and learn behavior, because that was going to be one of the questions I asked. Because we talk about it's hereditary, it's learned behavior, or it could be simply generational curses. And I heard you mention that this is generational as well. Because your kids pay attention to you, they watch you, how you deal with situations, how you going to react to situations. Are you calm or are you dramatic? How are you dealing with it? But just going back to the initial question, I definitely feel that there is a need. And I find myself in a lot of situations to where I'm trying to give some feedback. And that's why I went back and got my life coaching certificate, because I was having so many discussions and topic, no matter where I am, even if it was somebody DMing me and say, hey, I experienced some of these same things in my life. So yeah,
Yeah.
we need to work together.
Absolutely. And even with that, like, think about how much that takes on you, right? You're taking in a lot of people's trauma. So, I think it's great that you've been able to platform so many different therapists, because it
Hmm.
also normalizes therapy, right?
Yeah.
Now, people who are struggling with maybe trauma, anxiety, depression, they have a physical person where they see, they're able to reach out, we're able to make that referral for them. So that way they
Hmm.
have that help, or even just reaching out to you if there's services that you offer to be able to give people sort of that, here are ways that we can help you. Right.
Right.
One thing in my practice that I do is I see a lot of people of color. So I have to always think of the cultural aspects of it as well. What were our people doing hundreds and hundreds of years ago when they were going through such atrocities, right? They came together. It was the community that helped them get through these things. And so
Hmm.
that's something that I really push with my clients, especially if they've gone through something, is you can't go through these things alone. You
Right.
know, the worst of the worst has happened. What do we do now that we are still here? Because we're still here, we're still
Hmm.
living, we're still having to deal with the things that happen in life, but now we have this sort of cloud over us because trauma will come in, and sometimes it acts as our personality, sometimes it acts as our security blanket. But
Hmm.
we have to remember that we were a person before the trauma, we're a person with the trauma, we're a person after we processed it and put it behind us, right? And
Hmm.
so having that very strong support system, coupled with whether you need to see a therapist or trying out different modalities. So a modality that I offer is EMDR, which is really big now for therapy. It's been popularized the last like 60, 70 years or so. And it's something where we don't necessarily have to take you through the ringer of divulging all your deepest, darkest traumas, but we can still help you reprocess it in a healthier way. Some people need that to just talk about it, to get it out. Some
Right.
people need a deeper level of processing. But again, you only see me for an hour every week or every other week. What are we doing when we get home? Right? And that's allowing people into our spaces. It's where the vulnerability has to show up. It's not
Mm.
easy, right? It's not easy. We even saw it in the film where she had a friend that's at, hey, I could help. I could do this. No, I got it. I got it. I got it. Right. And maybe if she would have said yes to that, that could have completely changed the outcome of the movie if we would have simply just accepted that help that
Yeah.
is offered to us,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely something I really try to push with my clients, that if they don't have a community, okay, well, let's figure out what we can do to find some community. And then I can do all the other stuff while we're in session.
Yeah, that's key, that support, finding that family support. And I mentioned last week, family support looks different. It may not be your mother, your father, your sister, your brother. It might be an auntie or an uncle, or it might be a friend, as you just mentioned. So family support could look different, but long as you get the support, it could be that professional as yourself, as the therapist, the counselor, the life coach to assist. That could be the support, but as long as you get the support, as you said. And I want to go back, and you don't even have to answer this, it could be left as a rhetorical, but it's something that you said when you mentioned what our people were doing hundreds of years ago. And just thinking about it, and we don't even have to say what that looked like,
Mhm.
but that was, when I think back, that was true trauma. You know what I mean? Like, we do gentle parenting today. We don't pick up a belt. We don't pick up, but back then they was picking up some of any and everything and doing any and everything to our people. That was true trauma. How did
Mm-hmm.
they deal with it? How did they get through it? Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, coming together as a community. I feel like if we have these discussions with our children, the next generation, and share with the next generation like that history,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about it so they'll know what happened before them. You get what I'm saying? To see,
Absolutely.
we were some strong people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you absolutely. The education piece is so important. That's actually at the core of my practice because society, even sometimes culture, will twist our viewpoint on things. Even as simple as the definitions of words, right? A lot of people come to me, they don't know how they feel, they don't know how to express it, they don't know how to put it into words. And so we go through, we have the emotions wheel. Everybody can look at I love the emotions wheel. It's this huge giant wheel, it's colorful, and it starts off with like very vague, very general emotions. So like sad, happy, excited, mad. And then you have branches that come off of it that go a little bit more specific and it just keeps growing, right? And we'll go through the wheel and people say, I feel content. That's a big one. Oh, I feel content. Okay. What does content mean? Put that in words for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm just neither good, neither bad. When people look up the true definition, they're like, oh, I actually don't feel that way. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, right. So think about what people do to us in society. They may see people process things differently, right? And it may have a stigma attached to it, or it's not because it doesn't make sense to them. It has this negative connotation associated with it. When really, no, like this is just how people are able to process things, and it's healthy for them, and it helps them get through it. And so we have to still always educate ourselves. Where did our people come from? What tools did they use to get through things? How can this apply to my life, right? Things are different. We have a lot more access to information. We have a lot more
Mm-hmm.
access to reaching people. So yeah, like it's important that even if your family isn't your biological family, but you've been able to develop a chosen family, that's just as important because
Right.
it's the people who are going to be there when you need them because they've showed up and they've shown you they can do it, not just because of what culture sometimes puts on us to still accept when we don't have to accept it.
Right. And going back to, what did you call it? The emotional wheel?
Yes, the emotional,
I'm
yeah.
about to check
It's
out the
great.
emotional
It's great.
wheel.
You'll have to look it up. It's great.
And I probably could use that in the classroom too, because,
Mm-hmm.
being an educator, um, a lot of times the behaviors that these children um, display,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have a word to put on
Mm-hmm.
it, they can't identify it, they can't verbalize it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. They have one for emotions, they have one for sensations. And it's just a better way for us to feel connected to ourselves. Because think about how frustrating that is. I feel this huge emotion. I have no idea what it is.
Yes.
Right.
That's
And
like
then
a
when
baby,
just
a
like a
baby,
baby.
and the
Mhm.
tantrums they have because they can't
Mhm.
talk.
Yep, and adults do that too. I
Yeah.
have this big emotion or this big thing happen to me. I don't know how to even talk about what happened or how it happened. When trauma comes in, it completely changes things. And I think people sometimes minimize the impact that their trauma has on them, right? Because sometimes when you have trauma for a long period of time, it sometimes becomes normalized. And we don't
Hmm.
realize the weight of which we've been carrying for so long because we found a way to hold on to it and to continue on, right? But the great thing about living in today's age, there is help, right? Therapy doesn't have to be this scary big thing that we do. It's a conversation. Let me do all the science part, right? And you show up and then we work together. It's a relationship, right? And I
Right.
think, like I
Mhm.
said, I think it's great that you platform so many people who work in the field because it shows that it's not as intimidating as maybe on TV or movies make it seem to be. right? That it's okay, I'm meeting you where you're at. Right here, right now, you don't want to do too much. Okay, well, we don't have to do that. We can just put on some music, put the lights down low, and just exist. That's okay.
Right.
You know,
I like it.
that's
Exist.
therapeutic. just exist. You know, and a lot of what the culture, the society pushes us to just go, go, go. When there, we can rest, we can take our time. We don't have to rush to get to where we don't even know where we're going. Right. And the reason why I say trauma really does it changes sometimes our brain structure, the brain chemistry. That's why if you look up, we use the DSM-5 TR is the version we have now to look up our diagnosis. That's like our tool that we use. When you look up PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder in the DSM-5, a lot of what it says in terms of symptoms is loss of memory or not really remembering all of the facts of what happened or the sequence of events. That hypervigilance was kind of looking over your shoulder, like or avoiding places, right? People don't realize that your body is really trying to continue to keep you safe even when you're no longer in harm's way. And so I think when people kind of have that awareness, they see where, oh wow, like, yeah, I haven't been going to this specific place because it reminds me of this person or this event. Or I find myself being so overcome with emotion at the most random moments, but oh, it's because I just smelled something that reminded me of things, right?
Yes.
And it's those little small things that'll just take you right there. But again, you don't have to go through these things alone. There's plenty of people out here, whether you're able to help them, I'm able to help them, whether it's with us or finding somewhere else. It's just that awareness piece is what's important. I think that's where we sometimes put too much. Some people may call it accountability. I think it's victim blaming at times where we don't have to take the blame for what happened to us. You know, somebody else caused that, you know?
Yes. And I like how you basically just mentioned some things that can be considered as triggers, like the smell, a certain smell, the tone of someone's voice, the place. Those are all triggers, and we might not even be aware of it,
Mhm.
at that time. And just going back to trauma, could you explain with trauma? What does that look like when dealing with the healing process? Because I've
Mhm.
heard them say that it's not a straight line. It's
Mhm.
not just good, 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 good. You can have,
Mhm.
I guess, a setback.
Mhm.
But if you can explain the healing process when we talk about trauma.
Absolutely. I think if people realize that trauma and grief are very similar, I think
Okay.
it will help them to better understand that you may feel as though you've gotten past a situation and then that trigger happens and you may feel as though you've taken 10 steps back when really no, that's just a sign that you're human, right? We can
Mhm.
help with like emotional regulation. So a tool that I love to give people when you start to feel overwhelmed, when you start to feel like you're losing a little bit of breath, you're starting to feel panicky, if you're able to, if you're in a safe enough space, if you're home especially, go to the freezer, grab some ice, put it on your chest, hold it.
Mm.
That will help kind of calm down your nervous system, okay? Because it's on fire right now because we're triggered
Mhm.
and with trauma, it will also, if you already have like an anxiety disorder of some sort or depression, it's going to exacerbate all of that. So when we think about how do we heal from our trauma, we have to understand that it's a part of us, but it's not the whole, right? It's there and it's going to be a reminder, and I can't make you forget it, right? But I can help you to nurture it. I can help you to not think as though this is the only interesting thing about you or the only thing that's worth talking about. I can help you get reconnected to who you are.
Yeah.
I can help you get connected to your identity outside of the trauma. And it really starts with, okay, well, who are we? You know, a lot of people can't answer that, which makes sense because trauma does impact our identity. When we get into even the more complex disorders like a DID, dissociative identity disorder. So people are, when they think of split personalities, that's what that disorder is. It's because they're so disassociated. They're so
Okay.
removed from their identity. The trauma was so grand. Our brains whole function is to protect us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Protect the body. That's our brain's main objective. And so if it feels as though, oh, this thing was too big, we got to figure out a way to save the body. That's when it splits and you get those different those
Wow.
alters, right? Those different personalities that come through. So that's why I say, like, I think if people understood that trauma was similar to grief, I think they would have a little bit more grace for themselves and for others, because we would never tell someone experiencing grief, oh, this person passed. Why are you still bothered by that? Why are you not further along, right? There's a lot more grief associated because of the cultural aspects of what it means for someone to pass and how we respect those people who aren't still here. Same
Right.
thing with trauma. We have to understand that that person before the trauma, she's no longer here, and that's okay. We have this new person, that's great, that
Okay.
is learning from that, and she
Okay.
deserves to be here. She deserves to be nurtured, right?
Okay.
And that's okay. So it really starts with one. If you've experienced something, if you're able to tell someone, please do. So you don't have to carry that alone, right? There are warm lines that are available. If you look up like Warm Line USA, it's just a crisis line where you can call in and just tell people how you're feeling, and they can kind of do some crisis interventions for you, just kind of help get you a little bit stable. They're able to provide resources for you, that type of thing, right? If you feel as though, you know what, I really want to work on this, okay. If you have insurance, you can look through your insurance provider. If you want to go that route, you can do the private pay. That's what I do. I don't accept insurance just because you can't do as much, to me, fun things in the therapy space when you're kind of bound by the insurance, right? Or
Okay.
whether you want to go with life coaching, things like that. There's people out there, right? But there's resources everywhere, whether it's your local victim service center. We have one here in Orange County. Every county actually has one. It's just a matter of researching so that you don't have to do those things alone. And also, too, like I said, there's small things that we can do. Like I said, go to the freezer, get you some ice, put it on your body. I know some people who like to draw on themselves, just helps them feel a little bit more connected to themselves. Yoga is really, really big for trauma. Every client that I have, yoga or some sort of movement is added to their treatment plan, because you have to get connected back to your body and you have to move your body. If you're someone that believes in like energy that flows through your body, a lot of times they'll say sometimes it gets stuck, and that's the trauma. It can't pass through. So maybe you even feel some aches and pains in certain areas, and that's that trauma that's just sitting there. And so yoga, there's a lot of run clubs and cycling clubs now that's popped up in the areas, right?
Yeah.
Join one, which will also help you build that community, because you're not, again, you're not doing it alone, right?
Right.
And we go from there.
Okay. I know I heard you mention as far as the nervous system, and that was
Mhm.
something that I did read that it does get stored in the nervous system. And me
Mhm.
just thinking about that, like, oh my gosh, just not thinking to put those words with it, but
Mhm.
that there's a whole thing going on in your nervous system that's being activated, you know?
Mhm.
But just to sum up, is there anything else that you would want to share with someone that may be battling or dealing with trauma? Some final words for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thank you for showing up, right? For continuing to be here, because that's so hard to still have to show up, do all the things that you have to do, all the responsibilities that you have to do, while also carrying that, right? And just know that it's not your fault, and there is help out there. Whether it's with me, whether it's with Target, there's help out there. People who are trained to want to make sure that you're okay. And if you need anything, just let us know.
Exactly. I
Mhm.
love it. Well, thank you all for listening. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. You all have a good one.
Thank you.